Good morning, everyone, and welcome. We've got over 170 business leaders, sales leaders, recruiters, and headhunters joining us live this morning, so thank you for being here. We will be holding a Q&A at the end, so any questions, please post in the comments and we will pick them up. Today is focused on one thing, winning new business in 2026 and how to do that in a way that's structured, repeatable, and delivers consistent results. I'm joined by two people who bring that to life from different angles. First, Richard West, welcome. Richard spent over 25 years in Formula One working with teams including Williams, McLaren and Arrows. He's generated over $165 million in sponsorship revenue and worked alongside 9 world champions. Today, Richard delivers his Performance at the Limit program developed over the last 20 years, helping businesses apply elite level performance principles to sales, leadership and business development. So when we talk about winning under pressure and securing major deals, Richard brings real world experience. Also joining us is Brad Shackleton. Brad runs his own coaching program for recruiters focused on helping them improve how they win new business, build stronger client relationships, and operate in a more consistent, structured way. He works closely with recruitment professionals to move away from transactional activity and towards a more consultative, value-led approach, which ultimately leads to better results and higher quality partnerships. What makes today valuable is the combination of both perspectives. You've got Richard bringing high performance thinking from Formula One and Brad bringing the practical application of that into recruitment and business development. We're going to be covering how to prepare for a big pitch, how to access the right decision makers, how to position yourself properly, and how to introduce yourself in a way that opens doors. If you're serious about improving how you win business this year, you're in the right place. Well, let's get into it, Brad.
And Brad is here. How are you doing,
Brad
James?
Welcome, Brad.
I just didn't think I'd have all the doors open. How are you? Thank you very much for that introduction.
Oh, very good. That wasn't meant to be the starting grid. You weren't meant to be starting from the pit lane, you know.
James, thank you for that intro. And Rich, great to see you. Thank you very much for joining us. So if it's okay, I will just quickly share my relationship with Richard. This is our 4th or 5th event together now. Richard and I did a big UK roadshow just over a year or so ago. Rich was such a huge hit. I think it was one of his first experiences into the recruitment industry. Rich is all about high performance. He's had some wonderful experience in Formula One. He has spoken for me at multiple events and everyone loves Rich. So I thought, look, if he would be so kind to give me his time today, I thought I would really try and extract with Rich what is high performance about, but not whether you're into Formula One or not. I love F1, but even if you're not into F1, Rich has taken his experiences from, as James said, 25 years in F1. He was a sponsorship sales machine, raised $165 million in his time for Williams, McLaren, Arrows, and so on. The Asprey deal with Schumacher, with Ferrari, and what I love about Richard, and I'll come to him, is that Rich has taken all that experience and then translated it. He's got a book called Performance at the Limit into the world of business. And Rich is still working in the motorsport industry today with the Jaguar Motor Racing Club and the electric vehicle future and so on. So, Rich, I'm super grateful that you've given me your time for my network, James's network, and I'm sure your own as well. And it's really wonderful to have you here today.
No, thanks, mate. It's good to see you. I mean, those events that Brad refers to last year, we put masterclasses together with Brad taking the lead in Leeds, Manchester and London, and they were a great success. Some of you may even have been at those or are on this call today, and if you are, great to be with you again. As Brad said, really, from my side, my career, obviously now, being an older guy is a very lengthy one in motorsport and automotive, but throughout it all, it's given me the opportunity through the eyes of 9 world champions and also bosses like Sir Frank Williams, Ron Dennis, to really see what makes the difference between good and outstanding. And it's just one of those things that gets inculcated in your very being. And if any of the lessons that we can share you either today or particularly at the masterclass on the 22nd of April at the Dixon in London, which I know many of you are coming to already, we will do so. So, Brad, without any further ado, I'll let you grill me.
Thank you. Yeah, so here's our agenda. And James, thanks for letting me rerun this. Rich and I, did some good prep and brief around this, which all salespeople should do. I call it brief, execute, and then debrief afterwards, hopefully with the win. So the agenda for today, a few things to cover in the 45 minutes, is the 2026 season. and our views on that. And again, if you guys have any questions for Rich about Formula One, or Antonelli, who we'll talk about shortly, has won the first two races of the season. We're going to talk about 2026. Antonelli, he won that seat. Great show on Netflix if you haven't seen it. We're going to talk about teams and leadership, and the Newey move. Was team principal of Aston now gone back to his real area of expertise. And also, what I think is really important, if you're not an F1 fan, is ultimately, what can we learn from Rich? I don't know who else has sold 165 million US dollars in business, but I know I haven't, and I don't know many recruiters have. At that kind of money, that's when you're selling your business, and I know that's not what recruiters are necessarily producing for a company. So I don't know anyone more qualified in sales at that level of high performance in what now is a billion capital investment raised for sponsorship. And I think Rich said to me the other day, Formula One is now the most viewed sport worldwide, online. So, Rich, let's just jump into it. 2026. Regulation changes. You were in F1 between the mid-80s to late 90s, early 2002 with Schumacher. How do you see F1 as of today?
Well, it's changed beyond all recognition, because effectively, in that, dare I say it, sitting here, 40-year, career being involved in it, around it, and having built a business of, my own experiences over the years, it's changed hugely. Even in the 80s, a top budget would have been in the mid-80s. You'd have been operating on sort of $3 million a year, and you'd have had a staff of maybe 40, 45 people. The top teams today have staffing levels approaching, almost 1,000 people. But of course, they have to have their costs controlled. There's a thing known as the budget cap today in Formula One. It's quite complicated, but on certainly if you go to the rights holders, F1's website, there's a good explanation on there of what the budget cap is. And what it was done for was we reached a point in the Schumacher, Barrichello, Ferrari era when teams were spending, upwards of $400, $500 million a year. And of course, the differential between the leading teams and those at the back of the grid was enormous. So the sport not only changed the way that it is allowed to spend money under strict control methods, but also the entire ownership of the sport changed about 7 years ago. It had been controlled massively by Bernie Ecclestone, and there's very few people I don't think who've not heard that name. Bernie did a remarkable job with Formula One, bringing it from almost the dark ages up to the point where Liberty Media purchased it. And I have to say, Liberty have done an incredible job with it. When you look now, we've got I was checking some stats this morning. I mean, it's now the Formula One industry per se, not the manufacturing side, but the actual Liberty business side of it, is turning over 3.9 billion a year. There should have been 24 races this year, but there are 22 due to the unfortunate and tragic circumstances that have unfolded in recent weeks in the Middle East. But it's a completely different business. It employs very large teams of media specialists, social media specialists, but technically, and this is an important thing, it is still driven by technical issues. The regulations this year have all changed dramatically. The engines, power plants, you have 50% hydrocarbon, 50% electric. The cars are smaller, they're narrower, the tyres are narrower, the aerodynamics have changed, and the drivers are much more involved even now in having to program their cars to get the maximum efficiency out of them. But of course, even that's under quite serious debate at the moment because of the incident that befell Beerman when he came up against the back of a slow running car, and had a 190 mile an hour off with a 50G impact. So the one thing about it changes every single hour of the day.
Here's the thing: is that F1. You and I spoke. I went to the F1 show in London, where you got to learn all about the backstage of F1, how the cars are built, and that they contribute to space exploration in terms of some of the work that they're doing. I want to ask you a question, Rich. To me, it's an oversight. I think it was Lando who said that he overtook Hamilton at the last race without intending to, quote unquote, but my battery decided to overtake him. What I'm seeing after the first two races is that the drivers are suggesting, and anyone who's in F1 will see it on Twitter and Instagram, that they don't feel they're fully in control of these cars. And the Beerman experience for Haas was a prime example that he came up on someone. These guys are sitting at 200 plus miles an hour, 20 inches off someone's tail. In racing up to 25, someone wouldn't come off the brakes that quick. But that battery is like hitting the brakes, and Bearman had to take evasive action, hit the grass, spun 360, and went into the barrier at close to 300 miles an hour. There is talk, if things don't change, there could be a major accident that you don't just walk out with a twisted ankle, which is what happened to Bearman. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a very deep subject. You honestly, in this podcast, you haven't really got time to go into it. As with any change in regulations, and I mean, the one thing in Formula One is it changes. The overall regulations are set by the sporting and the governing body. But the reality, of course, is that the drivers, the team principals, the engineers, it's like a business operating efficiently. All of the feedback that is being currently taken from something that is completely new will be under consideration by the teams. It will be under consideration by the FIA. And after the tragedies of the mid-90s, when we lost Roland Ratzenberger and Ayrton Senna, the reality is now that the governing body always take these discussions very, very seriously. And with this enforced break they've now got, this 5-week break because of the cancellation of Saudi and the other race, means that effectively they have got time to debate it and discuss it. And I'm sure they're doing the very best for everybody concerned.
I know that you were at Williams when sadly Senna was lost and passed to Imola. I know we won't go into that today. I know that you're going to be talking a little bit about your time with Senna at the Masterclass. But do you think there might be concerns with F1 right now that, God forbid, but there could be a fatality if the cars are, losing, or the drivers are losing control of them and they're doing their own thing? If this is suddenly a Tesla that's driving itself with this battery issue, there could be a fatality. And how was this an oversight by F1?
No, I think you're making too much of it at this moment. If I'm being blunt, as I usually am, at the end of the day, you've got the very best designers in the world. You've got the very best engine manufacturers in the world. You've got a set of team principals who, without doubt, are some of the smartest men on the planet. And I know in my heart of hearts that everybody will be giving it very serious consideration. And as with any new regulations, that there will be tweaking, because that's the way of the world. But I would never say never. But at the end of the day, Formula One is an exceptionally good place.
Okay, thank you. And I think, I wanted to kick that off because to me, it's been one of the biggest discussions. The next thing I want to talk about, Antonelli, 19 years of age, won his first 2 races now on the podium. Toto Wolff looked at the camera after him qualifying on pole with the first race and looked at the camera and just gave it I absolutely loved that. Evidence that these guys have worked hard. What are your thoughts? How has this guy done it?
Well, what you have to look at, and both yourself and James were, very glowing when you introduced me. But what you have to remember in all of this is that I was only ever part of a much larger set of organisation and people that made these things happen. And what you're seeing with drivers like Antonelli, the age of the drivers or sportsmen and sportswomen around the world, their ages are getting younger and younger and younger, but also they're picked up very, very early in their career. And as you rightfully say, in the Drive to Survive series, there's that particular program about Toto Wolff and Antonelli. He's a very, very talented young man. You can see that, because any driver that gets into a Formula One car is driving a remarkable piece of technology. And as Martin Brundle told me a while ago, there's so much going on now. They've got their fitness program, their dietary program, their technical program, their media programs, their travel schedules, their personal deals. There's so much to consider. And what really struck me at the last race, there was a particular camera shot, and it was Antonelli standing on the pit wall on the monitors in front of it. And it was very noticeable how Toto Wolff came up, put his arm around his shoulder, talked to him very, directly, eye contact. And what you can see going on there is the most amazing form of mentoring from one of the greatest team principals in the pit lane. Toto has had a remarkable career and done remarkable things with the Mercedes organisation. And you just have now yet another emerging fantastic talent in Antonelli.
Is he the next Lewis or Verstappen, or may I say, because I've got a feeling, is he the next Senna?
I never believe in the next saying, because ultimately, a question I'm often asked, people say, "Oh, you know, if you, in your opinion, you've worked with all these different people, who's the greatest driver ever?" You're never going to know, because ultimately, at the end of the day, they'd all have to be the same age on the same day in the same car, and you'd have a race. I think exactly what Bernie said a while ago.
I just had to ask the question.
Bernie still comments on Formula One. And I think, you know, at the time when he was asked about greatest drivers ever, he said, I think it could well be Max. But that's at the moment. What we'll see is Antonelli is very young. He's already a twice Grand Prix winner. We're going to see him develop as the months go by. And there are still a lot of races to go this year.
You know what's interesting when we talk about the cars and Antonelli, you know, and I love Drive to Survive, and it's brought. I mean, Rich, you may know how many extra viewers has Netflix brought to F1 since it launched 5-6 years ago.
I actually pulled you up some stats this morning because I was just looking at it for another purpose. I mean, Formula One last year, 6.7 million live attendances, 107 million social media followers, of 61% of which engage on a daily basis. 42% of people following Formula One are now women. 43% of the entire audience is now under the age of 35. You go back to the 80s and the 90s, it was old guys like me, you know, and younger. But now, because of what Liberty has done, what Drive to Survive has done, it really has, and the use of social media, of course, has brought Formula One into a totally new platform. And therefore, it really is a phenomenal sporting spectacle now that would go 24 times a year around the world.
Interesting. Regarding the drivers, you know, I look at the days of Hunt. You worked with Niki Lauder, you know, at that very competitive time that they both had with McLaren and so on. The role of a driver today in 2026, Hunt and Co, Mansell, Senna, even Coulthard, when you were working with him at, was it Williams?
Yes.
Yeah. They didn't have this level of PR or exposure on them, or did they? Because that's the only way you sold sponsorship.
Well, it started to change really. One of the major changes in the sport really occurred around 87, 88 with Ron Dennis as the head of McLaren, because Ron started to install new standards. And when he brought together Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna in the same team, not only did we have fireworks in terms of managing those guys because they were both ultra competitive, Ron continued to bring up the standards of the team, and he was the act to follow. And Formula One is a sport of continuous improvement. You know, if you make a small change and it works, the one thing you can guarantee is that within 2 races, everybody else will have taken a look at it, and your continuous improvement, your competitive advantage will have been eroded. So every single weekend, you have to continue to improve and improve and improve. Same in normal business. And therefore, I think we've now really reached a point where the drivers today are under much more pressure from a multitude of sources as opposed to the drivers of yesteryear. But you could say that the same about anybody in business today and any sporting person. The world's media love to see what's going on.
So let me jump on that. I got a quick bullet point summary. What are the new inputs they're having to deal with now that they weren't dealing with back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s?
Oh, just the complexity of it all. I mean, if you look,
the car back, for a start.
Yeah, the car itself is a masterpiece of technology. I mean, they are modern day Swiss watches. They are so beautifully engineered, and they are very, very complex. And quite clearly, in order to get the best out of that piece of equipment, the driver has to understand them. And therefore, he has to be a great communicator, has to be an exceptional listener, because in terms of debrief and pre-briefing, but also the amount of technical input, the amount of technical data, millions of pieces of data a second that are now coming not only to the pits and the drivers, but if you look at AWS, Amazon Web Services, as a partner of Formula One, they now are responsible for streaming millions of pieces of data in order to give the fans the information that you see on television that you would never have seen before. The radio transmissions are live, things like that. So they have to be aware of all of those things And at the end of the day, apart from their raw talent, they're ambassadors for the brands that are carried on their cars and in their teams.
Interesting, Rich. When it comes to what's going on right now, Alonso's been in this game. I think he's 42 years of age. He's the oldest racing driver right now. Is that right with Aston?
Yeah, could be what? Sorry.
Alonso. He's the oldest driver right now.
Yeah.
He's the oldest racing driver. He's 42 years of age. That guy. Quick plug. I'm a Shackleton. Our family motto is by endurance we conquer. Sir Ernest Shackleton lost his ship. In 1917, 28 men, 1,200 miles from civilization. Everyone in South Georgia, which was his last departure port, thought he was dead. And 18 months later, after months at sea, rowing, climbing mountains, pulling sledges, they walked back into the very whaling station. They left 18 months later. It's in my blood to never, ever, ever, ever give up. That's where I come from. And even if I'm not having a good time or I'm struggling, could be personally, my business, I never give up. You'll always come through. But if you quit, guaranteed you'll fail. If I take that into the world of F1, Lewis Hamilton is still here. He had a few tough years at Mercedes. He's then gone to Ferrari, had a horrific year, communications between him and his engineering team crew. Alonso's still plugging. Stroll's still down the back, possibly because he's the son of the owner at Aston Martin. When you hear someone like Verstappen and a few other drivers now moaning about it, I find it a little bit negative, because I think other people like Alonso would say, sort yourself out. You can't always win. So what are your views on people that Verstappen's four-time champion now? What are your views on drivers that maybe might start to think this isn't for me because the tool ain't delivering anymore, and drivers always blame their tools? Because right now, Antonelli and Hamilton and Russell are pretty damn happy with their cars.
The one thing that's important to understand, and we just touched very briefly on the importance of the team. As I said, I always had a brilliant team of people around me. I wouldn't have raised $1 if it hadn't have been for working for the best teams in the business at that time, and secondly, I had an amazing group, a small group of men and women who supported me, surrounded me, handled the media, helped me on research, helped me on all sorts of fronts. And the drivers have that around them. And the one thing you can be certain of is anybody that you talk to that is in a Formula One team or a top motorsport team, a sports car team, a world rally team, they're all driven people. And therefore, if things are not going their way, sometimes they can be quite outspoken. But there is no questioning whether it's Alonso, Lawrence Stroll, Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton. These guys are all massively driven to succeed, and they expect the best of everybody around them. And that's why it is a team sport, because you either get it and you become part of the team and you really deliver, or you don't get it and you float to the surface and you leave and go and do something else. Fortunately, the people who've worked there have been at the top.
Quick question for you, though. I want to get into sales chat and when you were pitching for sponsorship. If you can just, please talk about it at the masterclass when you have more time and share. I know you're going to share lots of examples with us. How do you, as a team principal, the days when Haas were having a really tough time, and look at where they are now, what Mercedes have gone through, what Zach Brown kicked off with 4 or 5 years ago when McLaren were down the back of the grid, and now we won. Sorry, McLaren fan. Won last year. How do these teams, from team principal to the various divisions to the driver, when you're losing week in, week out, engines blowing up, batteries failing, getting taken out on the first bend when you're in the best place you've been all season? Rich, for business owners and salespeople, and me included, I'm sure James and everyone watching this, how do you keep going when you're not winning and you keep on trying and you keep on getting knocked out every race? How do you maintain that resilience?
It doesn't matter whether you've got a team of 1,000 people or whether you've got a small business with 15 people in it. The key to it, and the leader's key within it, and this came out of we did 92 interviews with 65 respondents with the 3 issues of performance at the limit, myself and my 2 co-authors. And the one thing that they all put as the most important thing within an organisation is clear and concise communication. It's important, therefore, I remember many, many times the morning after a race, you would be all in the canteen or you'd be on the factory floor. And my bosses at the time, Frank, Ron, Tom Walkinshaw, they would come in and they would say, right, everybody, let's just have a debrief of the weekend. If you won, it was all about congratulations to everybody here in the factory that doesn't go racing. Well done, great job. And if you didn't win, or if you had a problem, and I know this still goes on today in the teams, the team principal will explain all the reasons why, all the technicalities, what happened, what the next steps are, and what that does is that removes any ambiguity. Whatever rubbish you may read the next day or hear or watch on TV or comments from people makes no difference, because you've communicated the true facts to your team and your employees and your people, and they can then move forward from that, either celebrate and move on to the next event or find solutions to the problems. It's a non-stop communication motivational process, excuse me.
Okay, and you know, I had the real privilege, you know, trainee pilot at the RAF, and sadly I've lost. I found out yesterday that two of my fantastic instructors, who were major frontline senior officer and operators, have passed away, and I got some really sad news yesterday. They, I won't share their names, but they both passed away within a week of each other, and I will never forget my first ever trip going flying. I'll say Squadron Leader Ray Humphrey. Makes me feel a bit emotional. And he just said, young Bradley, he said, let me share with you how we achieve high performance in the Royal Air Force. Everything we do when it comes to flying, we brief. Any questions? Let's get clarity on what we're achieving, who's doing what. We execute, and whether we have the best trip and I get scored 5 or 6 in my performance, or it's a 2, we debrief. So if we flew great and we won a deal in back to sales, we win. How do we win? How do we win more? If we lose, how do we reflect on that and change our approach? Is F1 the same like that? Brief, execute, debrief at all levels of the business and sport?
Plan, do, review is basically at the very core of everything a team does, because at the end of the day, clearly the planning process, the logistics, all the things that are necessary, all the data, all the track information, all the logistical movement of staff, personnel, everything, that's obviously goes without saying. But what is critically important is the review process. And it's a review process that takes place very rapidly. Jean Todt was the former head of Ferrari during its glory days with Michael Schumacher and Ross Brawn. He then went on to become the president of the FIA for a number of years. He made a comment when we interviewed him after a particular race. He said, the very first thing we do after the champagne has been drunk is we spend an hour and a half in the garage discussing what went well and what went not so well. The advantage of that is that information is then back in the factory before the personnel even leave the circuit. And therefore, by the time the personnel travel back the next day, they're in the factory, people have already begun work on solving issues. So review of any transaction. We'll do a review of this today, you and I and James.
Absolutely.
And we'll
we won't do it next week. We'll have an hour's break and we'll do it.
What didn't we do so well? And that is the critical thing you will find, that review, when people have got things fresh in their mind, is absolutely critical. It's no good doing it a week, 10 days later. It's too late. You review after the event and you carry those things forward.
Okay, I want to jump into sales. Got about 15 to 20 minutes left. And I also, we'll discuss the masterclass. Can I just say, because I'm going to run out of time on the F1 side, can we please talk about Brawn at the masterclass? Will you cover that in your talk? What they did, that story that I watched, I think it was on Disney. I don't think it's on Netflix, but the story of Jenson Button and your good friend who was F1 engineer and then went over to Brawn. Remind me of his name. Ross Brawn. Sorry, Plonker. You know how they achieved that, Rich. I mean, if you haven't, anyone, ladies and gents, not watched it, go to Disney. I think it's called Brawn. Wow. I've got to move on from F1 to sales. Rich, you know, $165 million US. You won't say it, so I will. You were recognised as one of the biggest all-time money raisers of that era. When it comes to selling, and just a few questions, which again, we will cover more on the masterclass in London 2 weeks yesterday. When it comes to a pitch, I call it fight night. You're either going to go in that ring. I used to do a lot of kickboxing. You're either going to go in there and win it, or you're going to get smacked and get told to get out. You know, you can't handle the objections. You're not prepared, and they go with someone else. But they don't say, I'll tell you what, come back in a week's time. What were your key parts to preparing for a big meeting when you were pitching, for example, I know you did the Rothmans deal at Williams. You know, what was your preparation before a major pitch worth a lot of money?
I always refer to it as PR, and it's not public relations, it's preparation and rehearsal. Because
Okay, I'm making lots of notes here. Thank you. Say again, Rich.
Preparation and rehearsal. Effectively, and I think this is almost slightly back to front, because you've got a couple of other questions that you've got in there, and I noticed you sent over to me. That you are effectively, prior to even preparing and rehearsing, you're gathering data and information. Now, whether that data happens to be old-fashioned, I still use a notebook like Adrian knew he does. I love notebooks. I've got about 160 of them going back to the 80s.
I use whiteboards, buddy.
There you go. The important thing is that you know exactly the background to your target. You speak to people, you use your network, you check out the media, social media, you look at the forms of advertising they use. That's your research. So when you then put yourself into the preparation mode, you think, okay, what am I going there to do? Yes, I'm going there to gain business, but the person I'm sitting opposite is entertaining me and listening to me because they want more sales. They need to sell more product. They need to sell more services. So consequently, when you get that opportunity, one should be able to go into that room fully prepared with as much knowledge as you can possibly have, because you've got your knowledge of your sector, hopefully you have, you know what you're selling, but you've also done your hard work behind the scenes and you have prepared yourself so that you can say, oh, I saw in the Financial Times last week that that recent acquisition you did, that looks like that's going to have a big effect on your share price. The fact that you've taken the time to understand that, now you're starting to get into a dialogue. Don't go and present until you've rehearsed. Rehearsal. We're on a time limit today. I'm watching the clock ticking away in the corner of the screen.
Me too. I've got 14 minutes to go.
My timer here has got...
And the crew prepared door for landing. Say again.
My timer in front of me that you can't see, that's ticking away there. How many times have we gone to conferences and we have a situation where somebody introduces a speaker, the speaker's got 10 minutes and 17 minutes later, they're still talking. It's disrespectful because the first question I always ask a potential client, how long have we got in the meeting? Half an hour, 20 minutes, an hour? What happens if you're really interested? Can we go on into lunch? You're pre-preparing. You then rehearse your materials and you know your subject matter so that when you go in that room, you know the person and you understand their business to the best degree you can, and you've prepared yourself for any questions that may come. You've rehearsed your slot to make sure that you can put your point across and still leave time for discussion and questions and answers. And unless you do that PR approach, I've seen many, many people come and sit in front of a desk and they're not ready to go. And
Rich, I agree. I agree with you on this. And I don't know. I haven't had the chance to know all the people that are viewing us right now because I'm presenting to you. But I did a post, and for those of you that don't know me, apart from what James said, but my role and my absolute passion is to work with people who would love to realise their true capability to live life and enjoy life. So I create, motivate, develop high-performance sales teams and businesses around the world across multiple industries. So yes, recruitment, but I'm delivering a massive project in Monaco right now for the world's largest super yacht brokerage house. I've worked in private aviation, construction, Howden and Hyperion Insurance. The one thing, it doesn't matter what industry, whether you're trying to sell a $175 million yacht or a small value service provision, it's the preparation to win that to win that business. For me, it's the same. And I did a post recently saying, how to prepping to win big or prepping to win a pitch. I make sure, I know how to get to this venue that I'm going to present at if I'm traveling internationally or even if it's UK wise. I will always travel the day before. A lot of people will fly early morning. I'll get up at 4 to get the 7 a.m. flight to pitch at 12. You've invested all your energy in getting there, not saving it, retaining it, and getting ready to go win on the day because you're knackered. The number of people, and I'm going to be honest here, that I coach that arrive late. My clients go, right, guys, arrive at 8:30 for coffee and Brad's going live at 9. WhatsApp, I get them. Hey, guys, sorry I'm running late, traffic. Which venue is it? And I'm like, my God, if I was a client, I'd go, you know what? Do yourself a favor and head home and have a nice coffee because I won't see you. I'm so meticulous on timing and knowing where you're going. And the second thing is, whether you're a super confident salesperson having the best quarter ever or not, what I believe in is make sure you know your route to get there and know the environment that you're going to be presenting into. Go and see the building if you can. And here's a key thing. Ask your client if you can have access to their boardroom just to get a feeling of the setup for the day when I come and present next Tuesday. I've never had a client say, Brad, you can't do that. And what it is it becomes a touch point. I get to say, I'm not there professionally to pitch, but Rich, thanks so much. How are things going? Can't wait for next Tuesday. And you'll say, Brad, I've got 5 minutes, but this is the view. This will be the screen. And just breathe for a second and go, right, where will people be sat? What's my connection? People come and present at my event. Have you got an HDMI cable? Oh, that cable doesn't fit my iPad. Oh my God, my lead doesn't reach. Brad, can I please borrow your clicker? And I'm like, again, never assume that the kit's there. Never assume that there won't be traffic. Traffic is every day. And know the environment you're going to present to, I think is most important. There's
another very strong element to it as well, and that is the cultural element, because we now live in such a multicultural society. For example, I always remember talking to a telecom provider in Finland, and I went the day before, like you do, so I can't stand, being under pressure to get to a meeting. So I went the day before, and when I got there, I was in the reception 15 minutes beforehand, and afterwards I got on very well with the guy, and we were having a coffee together. And he said to me, I was very impressed with your timekeeping. And I said, well, I like to be here early. And he said, in Finland, particularly, it's considered very, very rude to turn up late for a meeting, because what we have actually done, we have given you a period of our life to meet, greet, talk, and understand.
Get back.
By turning up late, what you've actually done is you actually used and wasted my time. And you set yourself up and said you didn't do that. And I was impressed with it. I've always lived by that. If I have meetings in London now, even a lunchtime meeting, I go down the night before, because where I live in North Suffolk, you can't take the risk. And it's no good phoning and saying I'm stuck in traffic. It's not an excuse.
Can I just jump in here, because I'm conscious we've got about 9 minutes left. Kate Paxton, thank you very much. If a candidate does a dummy run to the meeting at the time they're due, the day prior to the interview, I am confident that I'm representing someone good. Thank you, Kate, and I'll add to that, and someone who actually wants the opportunity. A great point. Right, I want to share my perspective on sales, and I've done a whiteboard, and I've got about 9-10 minutes. So let me share 5 things that could be impacting your ability to win new business and underperformance. Here we go. Brad's new whiteboards delivered by Amazon yesterday. Number 1, write this down. Could this be currently impacting the performance of either yourself as a recruiter or as a business leader? And I just want you to write this down. Are we passionate? And is there room for improvement? Because passion sells, and people like to work with inspired, motivated people. So write down passion. Okay, keep going, because you can watch this on replay. Second one, pitch. How good is your pitch? Could it improve? How do you find out? Go around the business when you're next to the office, do a Teams meeting. Rich, how's your day going? How's your week going? Rich, for the benefit of everybody, mate, what do you say in the first 10 seconds at a networking event when you introduce yourself? I'll tell you what, why don't we all do it? 2 minutes, get your pitch ready, and I'd love to hear it. How do you structure a bigger meeting? There's huge underperformance that's costing your business money if your pitch is poor. We can all, put your hands up, improve the quality of our pitch. Next, profit. Are you speaking to the key decision makers in your market? Score out of 10, I bet it's a 5. If it's a 10 out of 10, I congratulate you, but you're in the top 1%. We often keep on speaking to people that we know because it's easiest, but what's your chance of success at converting them? If it's less than 75%, find better people that you can convert. So again, how would you score yourself right now in terms of, have we fully mapped our market? Have we got an outreach strategy to connect with these people? If you haven't, it's underperformance, it's costing you money, and your competitors are laughing all the way to the bank. The 4th P, how would you assess your current level of productivity? What does that mean? Time management, planning, consistent execution and contact with all your clients. Imagine the tree, all your customers and ambassadors at the bottom, people that you're in contact with, you get on well yet but haven't bought. Climb the tree, a bit risky. They don't know who I am, but I'd love to work with them. What is your sales and marketing strategy for the next 3 to 6 months to have a high level of productivity? How would you score yourself right now, and is there room for improvement? I bet there is. Last one, the fifth, process. How would you review the quality of your sales process right now and how you build rapport with clients, engage them, qualify them on a Teams or in person, pitch your business, pitch yourself, take questions, handle objections, and close? And actually ask for the business, because few people actually do. And Rich goes, Brad, I've enjoyed that, and we'll come back to you. And most people go, oh, great, bye-bye. And I'm not being rude or belittling people, but I'm just sharing what I see and what people share with me is that people don't know how to close. If I call them the 5 Ps, and they're all connected like this. Here's your 5 Ps, the 5 reds. I'm about to share my screen with you. If one of those is missing, then you guys are underperforming in your business. And how much could you bill and how much could you be making as a business if you fully achieved high performance to maximize your opportunity to win new business this year, to become the go-to recruiter and go-to business in your industry? And that is why I would now like to share with you and what James, myself, and Richard and the team behind the scenes have been working tirelessly on for the last few months. I'm going to share my screen, if I may. We have launched and we are delivering a high-performance business development masterclass taking place, let me get to my screen, taking place on Wednesday. If you guys can just let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah.
It says what's next. It's taking place 2 weeks yesterday in London, Wednesday, the 22nd of April. And our wonderful guest here, Richard West, is going to be a key part of the day. Some of you may have seen me speak at Excel a few weeks ago. I gave a talk on business development for peak performance. And my theory, and maybe what I'm saying today, is if you've enjoyed 45 minutes with myself and Richard, and James will very much be involved, obviously. He's our wonderful sponsor. And I shout out to James, to Plarman, and the team behind the scenes, to Louise, who's on my team, to Julie, to everybody. You know, if you've enjoyed the last 40 minutes with us and we've got you engaged, there's so much we can learn from Rich and a lot more. Then imagine a day with us. Some of you may have seen the last masterclass that Richard and I designed and delivered for the REC. It was a huge, huge hit. We were oversubscribed and we absolutely loved it. And that's why then James and I got talking and we said, look, why don't we bring this masterclass with our intro back to London and bring F1 back to the streets of London. There's Rich in the middle there, and an absolutely full house at the event. I've done a masterclass like also in Ireland, and that was again hugely received and a phenomenal turnout. And now it's our time or turn to bring it now to London for those of you that haven't had the opportunity to work with us, or for me with you. So it's Wednesday the 22nd of April, and a huge thank you, James, to you, and I'll let you close this at the end with our intro. But the whole day is about, to be in the 1%, you've got to do what the 99% don't. And it's about a reality check and a mindset check on, it ultimately is up to you to get to where you want to be. Everyone within a business is running their own business. So rather than being reliant upon my boss for leads, ideas, I'm going to coach you for the day with Richard and with James and another guy called Neil Ray, who'll be talking about how to use AI to generate new leads. We're going to coach people how to take full accountability for their business, but with the high level of mindset and performance to actually go and achieve it. So it's all about what's your mission for this year. And my mission is to help you become both the go-to business and to how to, not just tell you what to do, but show you how to really stand out in your market to become the sales champions of your industry. It's for owners, it's for directors, it's for managers, it's for consultants. Most beautiful hotel. Rich and I did the last London masterclass there. The Dixon, right on Tower Bridge. A wonderful, wonderful venue, as you can see. And I've booked the #1 room at that venue to host us. Lunch is included. There's obviously our speakers so far. But we're going to look at the foundations of your business. And we're keeping it small. It's 40-odd people. It's about making it personal and bespoke to you. And I will guarantee and ensure that I know every single one of you in that room and I know about your business. And you've got me from 9 in the morning and you can stay till 9 p.m. at night because we're going to throw in a few cocktails and a bit of live music in the evening. But it's helping you get focused. And I call it smart time, taking a day out of your business to work on it. Most of you, 95% of I'm way too busy. I guarantee you'll make more money if you step away for a day. If Hamilton, Verstappen, and all these drivers and team principals never, ever, ever left the track, Do you think that would be a smart move? Why do they do what Rich and I have been talking about and step away for the day? We're going to look at the bridge of your challenges. So your underperformance right now will be one of those 5 Ps. It will be either underperformance in passion, underperformance in your pitching right now, underperformance in whom you're speaking to because you're not speaking to the key decision makers, underperformance in your productivity. We should be smarter and be more consistent in our delivery and our promise to clients and actually get back to them, or we could be underperforming in our sales process. What would the cost be of that underperformance? Thousands, probably hundreds of thousands. I'm going to share the video with you very quickly if I can. No, I can't because that's not connected. But it's the 5 Ps of how you go about winning that. So we're going to look at your passion proposition. We're going to fully strip down the 5 Ps to help you identify what's your weakest P, what's it costing you, and then I'm going to spend the day giving you the solution on actually how to fix it. We're going to break down specifically where you're underperforming right now, because we have to first of all identify the challenges before we can give you the solution, and we're going to give you the time to actively do that with us at the session. We'll work out how efficient you are in business right now. We'll work out how inefficient you are, work out what is ultimately costing you, and if you want to, but you don't have to do it, putting you with someone that you don't work with to get access as to how they're winning business right now. So it's a fantastic networking opportunity. We're going to be looking at your pitch and doing a session on who are you, what do you do, what makes you different. Don't panic. It's an awesome session and you'll feel so much confident about what you do, and you'll be taking it to market the very next day. So we are going to practice that fight night, and I really want to help you freaking love what you actually do and ensure that you're communicating it in the best possible way so that you aren't losing opportunities. That's the morning. And then the afternoon, I'm going to give you the solution and the roadmap to how you go and win new business this year. To become the star in your industry, you've got to map that journey. So 7 things we're going to do. I'm going to get you motivated. I'm going to help you clarify your ambitions for this year commercially. We're going to build a plan, define the strategies to execute that plan. What sales techniques do we need to go to market? What should our activity look like in order to achieve that result? Welcome to Mapstar. So it's a full-on day. And then we've got Rich coming in, who you've now met, talking about F1 and performance at the limit. Here was Rich. Again, I've already said it. He was so loved. His talk was incredible. And you'll have access to Rich all day. That's Rich up in the Birmingham Masterclass, again, sharing what we did. So there's the agenda. You know, what's your why? Helping you define your objectives, understanding your challenges, what makes a champion, breaking down the 5 Ps, listening to Rich. Neil Ray will be talking about how to use AI. This guy's, as a recruiter, he's billing about 1.5 million right now in new business. Fact. He's going to talk about how he uses AI to generate new leads. You're going to get 45 minutes to an hour with him. He'll be there all day. How to qualify your clients, your candidates with precision. James is going to come in on how to pitch for retainers. Like, we have worked, and I hope it's evident, so hard on how do we deliver the best one-day masterclass that you've ever been to. And I will put my hand on my heart and give you my promise. I'm very confident that we've designed that, because I'm a perfectionist, and I hope you can see that. And I hope you'll enjoy the event, and then drinks afterwards. That guy is me. It's not my brother. I'm going to be singing at the event as well. I gig a lot, and I'm going to bring my guitar and have some fun at the end of the day to let off some steam. So if that's of interest to you, please now take a photograph of that QRI code, and that is the masterclass. And you'll get all the information there. Go to the landing page, click on the video, and you'll see a full intro to the last masterclass that Rich and I did. Investment, how much you're losing right now, you know, with the 5 Ps and everything that could be underperformance in your business. Could it be more than 300 quid in the last year? We know it is. So here's a little thing I'm going to do for people today. If people book onto this, we don't have loads of seats left, by the way. It's 2 weeks yesterday. For anyone who books in by 4 p.m. today, all you have to do is DM me, booked, and I'm going to run a little, my little barrel, my little lottery thing here, and I'm going to pick out a name, and I'm going to give that person a free 60-minute one-to-one session with me following this masterclass. So anyone who books today by 4 p.m. will get a free one-to-one masterclass session with me. We can do it live in person or on screen, but I will fully review your business. What did you do on the masterclass? What are your next steps? I'll set you homework. I love what I do. I don't do it for money. I do it to help people. Don't want to sound arrogant. I'm damn good at it. And I would love to be able to help anyone who wants to come and work with us and invest in us for the day. And you'll get 100% return on that investment in terms of not just money, but the investment of my energy. With Richard coming for the day, James O'Brien, Neil Ray. We've got Plarman, the CEO, is also attending. I won't name the guests, but I've got a recruiter coming that minimum salary level he works at on the search side is 100K up to 500K board level. I've got another guy coming who called me last night who has built, scaled, and exited multiple businesses. He's worked with James Calm, and he's a major investor in businesses. He's coming. I'm not going to name drop, but you're going to meet some very, very experienced people at this event with talks on AI, how to scale and exit. I've done my very, very best to cover as much as I can. If we aren't LinkedIn, then please send me a LinkedIn request now. And like I say, if you do book in by 4 o'clock today, you'll get a free one-to-one. This is the masterclass, and then we'll wrap up.
Let's go. Hey there, my name is Brad Shackleton. I'm a motivational sales leadership coach. Today, it is my business development masterclass called How to Drive a Winning Business. I don't do boring. I like people to have fun. BD, business development, is an absolute key aspect of how you build a winning business. And the scariest place to be is in the same place as last year, and you've got to grow. It's going to be high energy, interactive, reflective, and I might just finish with a phenomenal song. Come along and join me. I hope you're listening. Sales is the lifeblood of your business. Complacency is the greatest barrier to success.
From the short time that we saw Brad in London, just his enthusiasm, his passion, and just bringing something a little bit different to some of the motivational speakers that we've seen before, we just had to come and see him.
The question is, are you doing enough to win that person's business? That's why that pitch, fight night, becomes really important, that you master your song.
Brad talks so much about how to elevate what we do, our industry, going from not just being 95% efficient, but actually that 99 to 100%, that extra 1%. So that for me has been really engaging.
If you always do what you've always done, then you're always going to get what you've always got. This is good.
So the content today has been amazing. So obviously Brad, big personality, engages the whole audience, which is really, really good.
It has been fabulous.
Really cool day.
Like nothing I've ever been to before.
I really love Brad Shackleton, the confidence he has, the style he has in delivering, the brilliant content which he has, which helps develop world-class sales performances within our teams.
Sales is poker. Get good at it. Practice it. Don't run from it.
I'd recommend Brad. He really understood the culture of my business and what we needed to do to change that culture.
Brad Shackleton is levels above everybody else that I go to see. He's engaging, he's interactive, he gets everybody in the room involved rather than just sitting back and listening to the same old thing. He is fantastic.
Why are you in this room today, and who is it for? What is your why?
The way that the event was orchestrated was to really make sure that everybody engages with one another, and we get to practice all of the tips that we're sharing. And there was a lot of music. Brad is very talented indeed. So we got to hear those vocals.
My name is Brad Shackleton. Thank you, and good night.
My original why was, I'll show you, for all those people who said I couldn't do it.
There you go.
Come on. Okay, what more can I say? There we go. Let me come out of here. I hope that has been of use. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Or am I still sharing?
No, you stop sharing. You stop sharing, bro.
Okay, I hope that's helped everybody to learn a bit more about the masterclass. So James, as we close, is there anything else that you'd like to say about the masterclass and just the level of effort we've gone to and what you think people will get from the day and what you'd maybe want to be covering?
No, I think you did sum it up quite well, Brad, in terms of that. And what we've done is we put a link to the masterclass. There's a lot more detail on the website where people can get a little bit more information before they book later on today, and then get that one-on-one session with you if they're with you before 4 o'clock. But if you're watching this on listen back and that date has passed, just get in touch with us anyway. If you have any questions, it would be great to see you there. As I say, the event, just to replug the dates, Wednesday the 22nd of April, the Dixon Hotel, Tower Bridge in London. So I think we've mentioned that as well. So no, it's great. We look forward to welcoming people there to expand on some of the points that Richard was talking about, as well as what you've been talking about, Brad. So, we need to look at how we can help people sort of, introduce themselves better, get themselves ready for a better pitch, a bigger pitch, and get themselves, ready for fight night, I think, as you call it in your video. So that's the important part.
And we also want to make it interactive, right? It's going to be informal. It's not formal. Everyone will have the opportunity to take the stage if they wish and share their challenges. I might choose to say, look, there are 5 people in this room that are struggling right now. If you were confident just to come and share a quick 60-second synopsis on what's happened so far, let's take some rapid fire responses from the floor on what could James or Bob or Sarah do differently. Like, I am here to make it bespoke, and it's race day, and you've got a full pit team crew. I'm going to make Rich West and you, James, our team principals, and I'll be with the drivers and the crews to make sure that we do our very, very best. Rob Kane, check this man out. I'm going to say it, Air Commodore Royal Air Force, who I once flew with. You're not bad at rugby either, Brad. Cheers, pal. Look forward to seeing you soon. I'm a lot bigger now, mate, than I used to be, and that's not good. I used to be a skinny little bugger. You wouldn't believe it. But we're here to help, and I hope you will leave our masterclass feeling fully tooled up, match fit for the strongest 2026. Brief, execute, and then come and debrief with us at the end of the day. Guys, thanks for listening. Richard, my friend, thank you so much for giving us your time.
I'll see you in person at the event, Rich, as well.
Yeah, I look forward to it. There's a lot to talk about, and just watching some of the comments and listening in, there's a few areas there I want to touch upon. One of them also is celebrating your success. So we'll see you on the 22nd, hopefully.
Yeah, click on the link. You'll go and find it. It's in my featured profiles of LinkedIn. You'll have all the information there. If you want any more information, please DM me. I can have a call with you today. I'm around all day. Today's the day to grab me and ask me anything you want. If you want to call or learn more. But if you want to book in or DM me, send me a LinkedIn request. But if you do book and you send booked, then you're going to go into my pot, and I'll draw a name out of the hat tomorrow, and I will announce the winner of the 90-minute masterclass with me. I'm just giving you 90. I said 60. There you go.
Yeah, I was going to say you got my 50%.
Holy shit. Hit rewind for me, pal. You can have 90 minutes now. I don't care. I'll give you half a day. I love what I do. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in London on Wednesday, the 22nd of April. Don't be late. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Yeah.